Welcome to Wesley Impact. I'm Keith Garner. Would you say that there's still a glass ceiling that exists for women in the workplace? Well, thanks for joining us once again today. Throughout our 200 years of service, Wesley Mission has seen many changes and trends in our society and community. In the early 1900s, men and women filled what we call today traditional roles for men, providing for their families, and women that had the role of, I suppose you'd call them, homemakers. Throughout the 1930s and 40s, after the Second World War, women began to enter the workforce in significant numbers. Having stepped into the workforce while men were sent to war, the contribution of women in the workplace was realised and has developed ever since, though for some time it was a big challenge for men. My guest today knows all too well the value of the contribution that women can make in the workplace. A successful entrepreneur herself, Sarah Liu has established the Dream Collective. It's a network platform which empowers and equips professional women into leadership roles in the workplace. I'm looking forward to speaking with Sarah a little later in the programme. We'll also be joined by Dee Uluirewa, who will, with the Wesley Impact Band, will sing You Say, and I'll share some thoughts on a tax collector who surprised everyone by entertaining Jesus in his home. Last week saw the first instalment of a two-part series looking at the work of Lifeline here in Australia. Lifeline, of course, began at Wesley Mission, and today it exists in many parts of the world and is vital as a telephone counselling service, enabling people who are at the end of themselves to find help. The number for Lifeline is 13 11 14. Last week we saw how Lifeline began. Now let's take a look at how the work has developed over the years.
In just 10 years of operation, Lifeline had become global. The Christian telephone service was now up and running in almost every capital city in the country and affiliated with more than 100 cities worldwide. The 1970s and 80s saw Lifeline expand to meet specialised caller demand. And our legacy lives on. Youthline, now Kids Helpline, responds to more than 6,000 calls a week. Ethnic Lifeline evolved into a state government initiative, and at Wesley Mission our commitment to help people get out of debt continues with specialised programs and ongoing one-to-one gambling and financial counselling support. We also continue to lead the way in suicide prevention and training through Wesley Life Force and support family and friends left behind through annual suicide memorial services.
With suicide, people need the patient love of those around them to throw their arms around them and say, we're on this journey with you.
We're certainly making a difference. We know from the feedback from people who've attended our training, who have said that often not long after they've attended our training, they've been able to intervene with somebody who was perhaps suicidal because they recognised the signs and they were secure in the process, they knew what to do. I think it's an absolute privilege to be a part of Wesley Mission. I found that it's a genuine focus on everybody here to do all the good they can, all the time they can. And I think people really believe and live that.
Today, Lifeline has been established in 19 countries around the world. In Australia, Lifeline centres answered a record 141,450 calls in 2012, thanks to a dedicated team of 1,000 staff and 11,000 volunteers across 60 locations nationwide.
The volunteer is the heartbeat of Lifeline. When we interview them initially, or they fill in a form, it will be, I want to give back. A lot of people that stay at Lifeline are usually people who have been touched by suicide themselves, and they've been called to it. I'm just really, really grateful that Alan Walker did start Lifeline. If you watch any program on TV, any problems, it's phone Lifeline, and it's amazing that it's become such an integral part of our society.
If If you would like to learn more about Wesley Mission, visit wesleymission.org.au. You can find help in our community services, connect with our church and congregations, discover a volunteer role that suits you, stay up to date on the latest news and information, donate to support our work, and help make a positive difference in your community. You can also connect with us on social media and subscribe to receive the latest news and information about Wesley Mission directly into your inbox. Visit wesleymission.org.au.
So don't hesitate to be in touch if you'd like to find more about Wesley Mission, or if you think there's some way in which we might be able to assist or help you. The contact details are on the screen now. My guest today is someone who is not afraid in her world to push the boundaries and equip those around her to achieve their own potential. Sarah Liu is a successful entrepreneur and a marketing executive. She's also the founder of the Dream Collective. Tell us more about this, of course, Sarah. What is the Dream Collective? It sounds very exciting.
Yes, it certainly is. So the Dream Collective is a global leadership platform. We are a diversity and inclusion consultancy that operate across 5 cities in the world. Our main mission is to help businesses attract, retain, and advance women in leadership. So this is actually a business that I personally started about 6-7 years ago now, and it started as a passion project. On the side, I started from the back of my living room with $3,000, and over the years we've actually managed to turn it into a global business, operating across Sydney, Melbourne, Tokyo, Singapore, and Shanghai.
You described that situation of empowering women into this. There must have been a market for this business, so there was a problem, really, was it, for people to find inclusion in the workplace?
Oh, 100%. And I think, inclusion has always been, it was a challenge back then, it is a challenge now, and I personally experienced that myself. So coming from a corporate background, I was never one that thought, I'll start a business, in my life, but I really sort of was personally confronted by the lack of development opportunities for women in leadership myself when I was working in the corporate world. And that's when I thought, I'll take it upon myself and create something. And then that's how I created the Dream Collective.
So as a Christian, something of that was you being pulled, as it were, into this because you thought it was something that you ought to do in your calling with God.
Yes, I think, God's calling for me has always been very clear ever since I was young. The calling was for me to be in a position of influence, to create impact and bring impact to those around me, to be a source of influence in the spheres that I operate in. And I didn't know exactly what that looks like, and I think it could still evolve, but right now I feel where I'm called to do is to really bring influence and bring impact to the business world that I operate in.
So even when people come to you, do you still sense that they've got this heavy load on their back because it's the perceptions that society have for the role of women? Is it there even when they talk to you?
Oh, yes, yeah. Sometimes consciously, sometimes unconsciously. So basically what we do is we work with businesses. So, we partner with the likes of Google, PayPal, Lego, Adidas across the APAC region to help advance their employees and their female talent into leadership positions. And those women are often very ambitious, high potential, high caliber, but, you was through the program, you will still see a lot of times there's a lot of self-limiting beliefs that holds themselves back. And
even in the Christian church, one has to say, that's also been very man-dominated.
Yes.
And although
it still is.
In the world of Wesley Mission's community services, less so. But when we talk about church, it becomes a challenge, doesn't it?
It is, yeah. But I think, it's not an isolated incident for the church per se. It is still very much the world. If we look at the numbers, let the stats, do the talking, women still occupies only 15% of leadership positions around the world and holds only about 28% of the global wealth. So I think, church, it's a, reflection of, everything else that's happening. But I think, God's plan for women are, just as, important and vital, if not more.
And it's what it's what people start to get used to. I know a little boy in Britain put his hand up in class when Margaret Thatcher was the Prime Minister and said the question he wanted to ask is, can a man be Prime Minister? And after she'd been 10 years leading. So if once this begins to become normative, that women can take on roles of significance and worth, then it becomes more acceptable when we start talking in that way and see good role models. Is role models part of the challenge?
Absolutely. So, what we see is, there's a person, and particularly a woman's career, can be categorized into 3 phases. So we call it the launch pad when they start, and then the mid-career marathon, and then the executive transition. We see a lot of drop-off of women from the workforce during that mid-career marathon stage. People normally intuitively attribute that as a result of, women entering motherhood, but that's actually a huge bias. That's not the reality. Research shows that women drop out of the workforce for 3 reasons. One is the lack of role models, to your point. The second thing is the fact that they receive little to none support from their direct managers. So whilst the company CEO might have a great ethos about supporting women, that reality is not felt on a day-to-day basis. And the third part is very much the culture, the corporate culture that we operate in.
Look, we're excited about what you're doing. We want to encourage you as a Christian in this space. It's very important they do this. God bless you in what you're trying to do. And let's see more and more people, not only through your organisation, but through many ways, coming into places of leadership and a blessing. Thanks ever so much for telling us your story and sharing with us in this way, Sarah.
Thank you.
Please welcome now Dee Uluirewa, who's going to sing You Say.
I keep fighting voices in my head that say I'm not enough. Every single lie that tells me I will never measure up. Am I more than just the sum of every high and every low? Remind me once again just who I am, because I need to know. You say I am loved when I can't feel a thing. You say I am strong when I think I am weak. You say I am held when I can fall short. When I don't belong, you say I am yours. And I believe, oh, I believe what you say of me. I believe the only thing that matters now is everything you think of me.
Over the years of Wesley Impact, Keith Garner has had hundreds of conversations sharing stories of hope, resilience, love and the Christian faith. Perspectives on Faith and Entertainment is a collection of inspiring and insightful conversations with people who are leaders in their field, including former Queen of Pop, Deborah Byrne, pioneer songwriter Jeff Bullock, children's and country music entertainer Colin Buchanan, Golden Guitar winning duo Carter and Carter, seasoned performer and music mentor Daniel Kay, and renowned worship leader Darlene Check. Each conversation shares a unique perspective on entertainment and collectively presents a broad cross-section of performers and how their faith impacts their lives and others. Perspectives on Faith and Entertainment is the third instalment of a 3-part series and is available now from Wesley Mission. To find out more, contact Wesley Mission on 02 9263 5555 or email impacttv@wesleymission.org.au.
Our scripture today is one where we see Jesus is on the move. We're told he entered Jericho and was passing through. That's an important contextual point. And Jesus meets a tax collector, not just any tax collector. We're told he's the chief tax collector and was wealthy. Let me read this passage to you from Luke 19, 1 through to 10. Jesus entered Jericho and was passing through. A man was there by the name of Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector and was wealthy. He wanted to see who Jesus was, but because he was short, he couldn't see over the crowd. So he ran ahead and climbed a sycamore fig tree to see him, since Jesus was coming that way. When Jesus reached the spot, he looked up and said to him, "Zacchaeus, come down immediately. I must stay at your house today." So he came down at once and welcomed him gladly. All the people saw this and began to mutter, "He's gone to be a guest of a sinner." But Zacchaeus stood up and said to the Lord, Look, Lord, here and now I give half of my possessions to the poor. And if I've cheated anyone out of anything, I'll pay back 4 times the amount." Jesus said to him, "Today salvation has come to this house, because this man too is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and save the lost." Like so many others, he'd heard of Jesus and wanted to see him. News about him spread. So when it came to his town, where he was either working or located, he wanted to see him. And we're told another important fact. He was short in stature. In this well-known story, he climbs a tree to overcome the fact that he didn't have the stature to see over people's shoulders in order to see Jesus. We're not told why Jesus entered Jericho, but it's confirmation that his kingdom is to be found in all places where people turn to him in faith. The position that Zacchaeus held certainly afforded him the opportunity to benefit himself and would give him a close-up relationship with the Roman authorities of the day. Those two things matter. He was somebody who could use his position to advance his own position of wealth, and he had that influence, that relationship with the people who he was collecting money for, i.e. the Romans. Let's remind ourselves, he was short, which is why he ran ahead of the crowd and climbed the tree. His high position, interesting, isn't it? Luke has this juxtaposition of high and low. Low in size, but high in position in the tax department. And it gave him standing in the Romans' view, but not in the opinion of other people. It was only Jesus who would truly be able to elevate him, to lift him. So much so that Jesus said he also is a son of Abraham. This comes after his declaration. Now the moment is urgent, and Jesus asks to stay at his house for food. So in a way, it's not an invitation from Zacchaeus to Jesus. Jesus invites himself into his world. And Zacchaeus was willing to welcome him. We don't know much about the background of this man. We don't know all about his family. We don't know the circumstances that constituted his life. But we know that he knew enough about Jesus that when Jesus actually invited him to his house, and I don't expect he had many visitors, when he invited himself to his house, he was prepared to throw open the door and share food and openness with him. Now, this incident indicates that Jesus welcomes even the most notorious person, once again, an example of grace. It also demonstrates that when God's grace is received, salvation comes to that place. When Zacchaeus had heard this change of heart, Jesus announced that salvation has come to this house. And the way this is demonstrated is in the words that preceded the declaration. We read of the transforming power that meant that Zacchaeus was going to put right so many of the things that he'd done that had been wrong. Look, Lord, here and now I give half of my possessions to the poor. If I've cheated anybody out of anything, I'll pay back 4 times the amount. Gosh, that's a long way just giving back what you've done. It's over and above 4 times whatever I've cheated. So it's no wonder that Jesus uses that wonderful sense and turn that talks about salvation coming to his house. And whenever salvation, God's open space of acceptance, comes to any of our lives, we are changed. And we want to do over and above what is necessary and real. Just as I was talking with a guest just a few moments ago, who's using her life to help other people because she believes it's God's will and God's way. When this message came to Zacchaeus, and we don't know all the story that follows, he was totally and utterly changed. And that's why the word transformed is so important to me. It's no wonder that we think of this as an example of the kingdom of God bursting into a situation, so much so that Jesus describes it as salvation coming to this house, open before all people, so that all can know. This is the last person they would have expected to know salvation. So the little man is elevated through the grace of God. And that's what he's always doing. What he can do for you is what he does for me as we give our lives day by day over to his will, his way, and his service.
If you would like to contact Keith and find out more about today's program, write to us at Wesley Mission, Post Office Box A 5555, Sydney South 1235, or you can send us an email to impacttv@wesleymission.org.au. On our website, you can catch up on past episodes of Wesley Impact, find out more about our work, read online magazines and articles, and connect with us on social media. You can also connect through Keith's blog and stay up to date on all the latest news and information from Wesley Mission, wesleymission.org.au.
I always enjoy hearing from you. So if you've got any questions about anything that you've heard today or about the Christian faith, please write to me. The details are on the screen now. Let's now take a look at some of the events that are coming up in the life of Wesley Mission.
The 106th Annual Wesley Fair is coming up on Thursday the 7th of November. This event is a highlight on the Sydney CBD calendar and features amazing entertainment, wonderful food, an exciting auction and much, much more. By coming to the fair, you'll not only find great bargains, but you'll also be supporting the refurbishment of the Wesley Edward Eger Centre for the homeless. Be a hero for homelessness and run in the 2019 Sydney Classic Tough Mudder on the 16th and 17th of November at Glenworth Valley. It's 5 kilometres of teamwork, challenging obstacles and of course lots and lots of mud. Search Mudder at wesleymission.org.au. Join us for Wesley Mission's end-of-year Thanksgiving service as we celebrate our many achievements throughout the year and look ahead to 2020. This special service will be held at the Wesley Theatre on Sunday the 1st of December at 3:30 p.m.
So the website is once again on the screen for more information about the events that we have coming up. Also, please don't hesitate if you feel that there's something that we can reach out to you about. I hope you found the conversation with Sarah interesting, particularly that thought of it beginning with just those $3,000 in her own home, sitting down and working out what can we do here. And it was for her salvation moment in her house, just like it was for Zacchaeus. Not because she was doing something wrong, but because she wanted to do something. And wherever we want to do something and we reach out and God meets us at that point, it becomes a moment of salvation, a moment of change. And certainly for Sarah, this has certainly been true as she's seen that push forward and break down barriers for people and allow them and liberate people who perhaps didn't believe in themselves but certainly do now. So I hope you enjoyed that conversation and you found it a blessing, and I hope you'll be able to find more about that organisation on the website. Thank you once again for your time. I'm looking forward to meeting you again at the same time next week, once again for another programme of Wesley Impact. Good music, good interviews, but most of all, the presence of God and the message of God's love and grace. God bless you.
Wesley Mission answers over 39,000 calls each year through Lifeline, Sydney and Sutherland. To find out more, visit wesleymission.org.au.